Core i3 is Intel's low-tier processor that is built for basic computing and light multitasking. It usually comes with 4 to 6 cores, which is good enough for browsing the internet, watching videos, or working on several documents at once. You can even play some light games as well. However, if you try to run heavy tasks like rendering or modern 8AA games, it is possible, but there will be lagging and stuttering. That's actually what makes this processor cheap and a good entry-level CPU for a budget computer. Another important thing to understand is that if you look at the end of a CPU name, you'll sometimes see a letter or suffix. That suffix shows what kind of performance or feature the CPU has. For example, laptop variants of the Core i3 usually come with a U suffix. This means the CPU prioritizes low power usage, so the laptop generates less heat and has longer battery life. This is useful for students and office workers because they don't have to keep recharging their laptops and can often use them for an entire day. On desktops, Intel Core processors usually come with integrated graphics, but some versions also have an F suffix. This means those CPUs do not have integrated graphics, so you need a dedicated graphics card in your PC. The good thing is that F models are usually a bit cheaper, making them a good option for a budget build if you already have a graphics card. There is also the T version, which is made for low-power desktops. This makes it ideal for compact PCs or office setups because it uses less electricity and runs at a cooler temperature. Core i5 is Intel's mid-tier processor and one of the most commonly used CPUs. That's because it is still relatively affordable, while being significantly more powerful than the Core i3. Core i5 processors usually come with 6 to 14 cores, which makes them good enough for photo and video editing, programming, and gaming. However, it's important to understand that a higher CPU tier doesn't always mean much better performance if the processor is from an older generation. For example, if we compare a Core i3 and a Core i5 from the same generation, the Core i5 is definitely stronger. But if we compare a newer generation Core i3 with an older generation Core i5, their performance can be quite similar. Even though the Core i3 is a lower tier, its speed and efficiency improve significantly with newer generations. When it comes to gaming, people often compare Intel Core i5 with Ryzen 5. In general, Intel tends to offer slightly better performance due to its higher clock speeds and strong single-core performance. In terms of suffixes, Core i5 processors in laptops still come with the U suffix, but there is also the H or HS suffix. The HS suffix is aimed at gaming laptops, as it delivers higher performance but also consumes more power. On desktops, some Core i5 models include the K suffix, which means the processor supports overclocking. Overclocking allows the CPU to run faster than its standard speed, but it requires higher power consumption and generates more heat. Because of this, a better cooling solution such as liquid cooling is recommended since standard air coolers are often not sufficient. Intel Core i7 is a high-performance processor designed for users like content creators who need to run heavy programs while multitasking at the same time. For example, if you can play a game on high settings with a Core i5, with a Core i7, you can play the game on high settings while recording gameplay using OBS Studio, running Discord, and opening multiple Chrome tabs without lag. This level of performance is possible because Core i7 processors have more cores, usually ranging from 8 to 20 cores. In terms of suffixes, Core i7 processors in laptops usually come with the HX suffix. HX is similar to the HS or U suffixes, but it offers much higher performance. These processors are commonly found in thick, high-end gaming laptops, as they require larger cooling systems to manage the heat. For desktops, there is also a variant called KF. This means the processor supports overclocking, but does not include integrated graphics, which makes it cheaper than the standard K variant. However, it's worth noting that many people today prefer AMD over Intel in the high-end category, especially when comparing Core i7 and Ryzen 7. While Intel CPUs still deliver strong performance, Ryzen processors often run cooler, cost the same or less, and can offer better overall performance. Intel's flagship processor that's built for professionals and tech enthusiasts. It has 16 to 24 cores, which makes it very powerful for heavy workloads like studio-level 3D modeling, reaching ultra-graphic settings in heavy AAA games and 4K video editing. About the suffix, it's just the same with Core i7. So, what makes it different is that Core i9 is just more powerful in terms of performance. Oh yeah. However, if we're talking about performance in gaming, more people these days don't even want to choose Core i9. They pick Ryzen 9 instead. Actually, Core i9 is still great, but Ryzen CPUs have the suffix called X3D, which is AMD's processor that has 3D V-cache technology to boost your performance in video games by a lot, without having to consume more wattage. But despite all these pros and cons of the Intel Core i9, most people don't really need a CPU this powerful anyway because only people like tech enthusiasts or professionals really need this kind of CPU. Old Intel series. Ultra series is the newer generation of the usual Core i series, and you can find them in high-end laptops like Asus ROG and Lenovo Legion. So what makes the Core Ultra different is because it has a built-in NPU inside the processor. And just in case you don't know, NPU is a chip that handles tasks that's related to artificial intelligence. So instead of burdening every task to your CPU, which can make it hotter and consume more wattage, those tasks will be handled by the NPU instead, making your laptop run cooler. Some real-life examples of NPU being used are when you generate automatic background blur for video calls in Windows Studio Effects. Also, when you use the AI generative fill feature in editing software like DaVinci Resolve and Photoshop. But despite all of these nice AI features, most people don't really need this anyway. It's more suitable for professional editors, designers, or anybody with tons of workloads. Intel vPro is a special variant of the Intel Core series for business. You'll often see VRO versions of Core i5, i7, or i9 in office or enterprise laptops. What makes vPro special is because it has Intel's active management technology and total memory encryption feature. So AMT is basically a remote management feature where IT admins can update, control, or lock many computers remotely, so they don't have to fix it one by one. And the total memory encryption means it can encrypt your login credentials, encryption keys, and other text-based files that are stored in the memory. So if somebody wants to steal your data, the data they get will become scrambled and unreadable instead. Ultra-low power processor that's built for small and portable devices. So you'll mostly find them in things like point-of-sale machines used for payments, digital kiosks in malls or airports, and also embedded in devices like security cameras. These CPUs are designed to use very little electricity compared to Intel processors in laptops and desktops, so they barely generate heat. That's why they don't really need fans or big cooling systems like the other CPUs. Was Intel's weakest processor series that's literally made for really basic tasks like typing documents. It was mostly used in cheap laptops and office PCs back in the early 2000s. But Intel officially discontinued it in 2023 since nobody's really using this weak CPU anymore. In fact, if you check CPU benchmark rankings of 273 Intel processors, the Intel Celeron series sits at the very bottom. The reason why it's so weak is because it was originally Intel's normal chip, but it came with defects and errors. So, Intel decided to disable those defective cores to make them function normally, and then they call it Celeron. That's why if you open one browser tab with Celeron, everything's just fine. But the moment you open two, the whole system starts to lag. Intel Pentium was basically the same as Intel Celeron. They both were weak and got discontinued in 2023, but the difference is Pentium was slightly stronger and more expensive than Celeron, so you could open more browser tabs or run simple Office apps more smoothly. It could even handle some games like chess in the classic Doom game. Intel Xeon is a processor that's not made for a regular PC, but it's for powerful workstations and servers that handle heavy-duty tasks like large-scale simulations, data centers, and cloud computing. And Xeon is able to do all of that nonstop without crashing because they have lots of cores like 32, 64, and even 120 cores. Xeon CPUs also support multi-CPU setups, so a motherboard can use 2 or more Xeon processors at the same time to handle those heavy workloads. With all these capabilities, Intel Xeon used to dominate the professional workstation market for years. But these days, Ryzen Threadripper from AMD has taken over because it gives more power and better price to performance. By the way, I also made a cool video about every AMD Ryzen CPU explained,